Pretty good. Yeah, thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's good to finally sit down and actually have like a conversation. I can't wait to hear about all the stuff you've been working on and everything that's going on in your life.
Yeah, and I mean, you're getting ready to launch your game with Strain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really exciting. Oh man, it's been such a journey, right? Just watching how it's been developing. And then I remember one time when you were developing it and like doing the character AI placement, and then like the character would show up randomly upside down on the ceiling.
Oh my God,
And,
there's some bugs that are like
yeah.
so funny. Like I could probably make like if I took the time to clip it, I could probably make the best montage of just the ridiculous
Oh
bugs that
yeah.
come up.
So yeah, I'm really excited. Congratulations on the Kickstarter and having it like just ready and everything. I'm so excited. I was
Oh,
like
thank you
telling
so
everyone's like, you
much.
gotta wish list it now. It's on Steam and check out the trailer. And so yeah,
Oh, thank you for
so
your
cool.
support. It means so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really cool. I feel so like excited to get it ready and make a good game and get it out to everybody. So yeah, it's going good. What about
Cool.
yourself? What have you been working on lately? What's going on in your world?
Lately, so well, I work on Pixel Plush, which is kind of like the my side project for building kind of games. Like I started in being really excited about games coming out of college, and that's kind of how I got into game and programming in the first place. And
Hmm.
so out of college, I actually worked at Xbox, not working
Hmm.
directly on games, but like the platform behind it and like Connect and that kind of stuff.
Cool. What was your role
And
there?
uh, well, I was a dev, and I worked
Okay.
on originally the Xbox Live, like the cloud servers and like having everybody connect. And at the time, it was like we have a million concurrent users connecting to everybody and like all the servers at the same time. And now it's like a million users. Psh, what?
I mean,
So,
that still sounds super cool. Like that
um,
sounds like it was a cool job to be in.
yeah, it was really. I learned a lot, and I think it helped me kind of shape like what I wanted to get out of my career and of coding
Hmm.
just in general. And so yeah. And then after that, I left to do some like startups and was like, okay, I want to do something that's really impactful that might not just be related to games. And so maybe I need to build something that's functionally like helpful to people. And so I was doing
Yeah.
startups that were all around um, like helping small businesses be um, more secure with all of the things that they're doing, or like mobile security for people that didn't understand anything about like phishing, or like what kind of apps they should or shouldn't install, or like what kind of
Mm-hmm.
emails they should or shouldn't open. um, and so I was doing a whole bunch of other things, and then um, about 8 or 9 years into it, or maybe even shorter than that, then I realized like my passion's still in that experience and the storytelling and the games, and how like if you look at history of humanity, the things that really lasted through generations and civilizations was like the storytelling part. Like some of the things that lasted since the ancient Egyptians are these stories that we've like told so well that it's related to everybody across different generations, across development and like technological developments, or like different eras of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those stories have just still been so personal to people that like we still tell them, and we still love those stories to this day. So to
Yeah,
me, that's
that's
like
such a good
games
point.
are the new way of storytelling, right? It's like providing an experience for people. And so yeah, my kind of tie into that still is through Pixel Plush with some of like the mini games that I do. But I love just watching and seeing how other people get to like really dive deep and build games that are about stories and about new experiences. And yeah, hopefully I can get back to that someday too.
It's very cool. I really like that depiction of games and storytelling. It's the most impactful way of storytelling, I think, because you're getting so immersed in the story. Like when you're reading, you get immersed because you like imagine so much of it, and their imagination is so powerful. But I still think that like what we're lacking, like the gap between the experience you have in a game and what you actually feel in real life, like that still takes some imagination. And I think like you can really really fully depict a story through a game, which is such a cool medium, and I'm so excited to be part of it as well. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's all the possibilities that couldn't happen in real life, right? Like the a very original reason I was so fascinated by coding was it was the only engineering field that wasn't limited by the laws of the universe. And so to me, it was like,
Mm,
oh, this is the chance to really like have things be unlimited or only limited by our creativity and our imagination. And so that's how you get experiences like Portal. It's like you can't create a portal. Well, maybe in the future if we figure out how like warp holes work and like gravity. But
mhm.
until then, it's like we can imagine these things and then make it come to life through games. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I know like a lot of my friends got into coding where they're like, yeah, I was really good at like math and I love building things. And I'm like, I love building these different experiences that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. And
Hmm.
so yeah,
Absolutely.
to see games in that way, for me, it's
Yeah.
like that's where we're pushing boundaries in terms of like humanity and in terms of where we can really open up our minds to different experiences. Like
Yeah.
the cool things for me was like there's different VR experiences that there was like someone was working on that I don't remember who, but it put you into the into a day in the life of like being like someone in a wheelchair
Oh
or
wow.
like being colorblind. Like these are different things that help you understand and um, develop more like empathy and just become better as like a person and as a species, right? And so to me
Absolutely.
that's fascinating.
Yeah. No, I feel that way as well. Like I think that in our lives we experience the world through our own personal experience. You know, all of our memories, all of the our senses that take in our environment. It's such a limited perspective when you think about all the different perspectives that are happening around us. And if you can just put on like a little, I mean, a VR headset or like, you know, a metaphorical jacket, you put on that jacket and now you're in the perspective of some player, you know, some character in a game, and you can see the world through those eyes. It's like, it's such a great way, like you said, to build empathy, to reassess your own perspective. And reassessing your own perspective is, I think, can lead to some great growth as a person in so many
Yeah.
ways. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Super
and a
cool.
lot of like shared experiences too.
That's
Like
true.
you play a good game, like you go back to, oh, remember when like Super Mario just first came out and that was like the most fun thing, or remember when we used to go and like put in quarters into an arcade machine, or remember when we were playing Candy Crush on mobile and everyone was into it. It's like those are not even just like the game experience, but the meta experience of that as a community. I think that makes it such a different, unique thing that just becomes part of our memories.
That's a good way to look at it as well. Yeah. Are there any games for you that stand out that like really had long lasting impacts on you?
Oh, it's all kind of different.
Hmm.
I mean, my favorite genre of games, I think, tend to be like adventure games, like action adventure, like Tomb Raider or uh, Zelda. Um, and then there's like puzzle games that I never think about as games. They're just like brain puzzles.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're all different, right? Like Tomb Raider, the reboot, the 20 what was it? Wow. I used to speedrun this game 2008, 2011. Oh
Wow.
wow. Wait, 2018? No, 2013. Oh yeah, Tomb Raider 2013. That's gotta
Okay.
be it. Yeah. But yeah, that's like the first like the reboot of the series, and
Hmm.
um that was my favorite game for a while because the way that they told that story was like this on this island, you land on it and the world feels so big, and then by the end of the game you realize like, oh, I just went through and revisited the entire other places of the island and just different aspects of it. But the island is actually really small. And all throughout, if you play it again, you recognize all these different things, like foreshadowing kind of elements where there's like airplanes that have been crashed in the past, and like there's all these other parts that were part of that storytelling that you didn't know until later on.
Mm.
You're like, oh, I did pick up on that. And so
Oh. That sounds
I
so.
think,
That I really want to play that now. That's a really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a really cool and well crafted story and level design too.
Hmm.
Neat. That's cool. So you would speed run it?
Yeah, I used to. It was really hard.
Did you set any records?
Nah, well, I was. I think I set the record at one point for the no glitches category
Hmm.
until an actual speedrunner that was like comfortable with the game actually went into it and was like, "Oh, okay, I can speedrun this category too."
Oh, you had a
Um,
record there for a moment. That's
um,
something. That's fun.
but it was just fun. I wanted to just have a reason to play that game over and over again.
Wow. I feel like yeah, when you really spend a lot of time getting used to like one particular game, you can really fully appreciate all that went into it. And as a game developer yourself, you can have appreciation for the design behind it, and
Yeah.
it's a great way to experience other people's work.
Oh, have you ever played Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker? It was
No,
like
I
the cell
haven't.
shaded one. Oh, okay. That one was also really good in terms of like storytelling and um, having it feel like an open world, but not so open that um, it feels like Skyrim and everything's overwhelming and you're just like, okay, what do I do next?
Mhm.
But it still felt like there was things and spaces to explore. And that game, I remember playing in the basement of like where we had like my siblings and I had this game room and we would just hang out and like we would have sleepovers there and then I remember my sister was really young at the time and then my brother and I played this game and right at the beginning there's this part where Link goes well, his sister gets kidnapped and so he goes and off on a pirate ship and sets off from his island where he grew up, where his grandma's like, go save her. And then he's like waving bye. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my sister's crying. She's like, and we're just like, Mary, what's up? She's like, it's so sad. The grandma. and so,
Amazing.
yeah, it's just so funny. Like that's stuck still as a memory for me.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's like those kind of experiences that are not just the games but like part of that experience is everybody around you or like other people that have also played the game and had similar experiences. Yeah, that it makes it so interesting and worthwhile
Yeah.
where I know like growing up people were like, oh, like video games are a waste of time and whatnot, right? And then more and more as I go in like look at it from different aspects, I'm like, no, like games are how we can explore everything else that we can't do in real life. And it means that there's different aspects to it. Like there are ways that like you can get really addicted to it, or there's ways that it can become like a stress relief, or like maybe it can make you think about doing things that might not be so good. But
Yeah.
it's like that goes for everything, right? Like
Right.
any activity can have that. But with games, it's the power in it is that it goes directly to your imagination. And so it's like with power you get great responsibility as well, but it is a powerful force in
Yeah. It
making
can.
a
It's a
really
powerful
great
force
game.
in both directions, I guess. It can be really
Yeah.
enlightening and like eye opening. And it's funny you bring up. I see that as well. Games allow you to do things you can't do in real life, and whether it's a setting that doesn't exist in real life, or you have special abilities that you don't have in real life. But it's also a fun premise that you to explore, where you say you can break the laws of physics in it too. How fun is that? Like, there's so many little things. If you just change a little bit how physics works, it's like a whole different universe, basically, right?
Oh yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, we could be on Mars without having to be on Mars
Yeah.
and see
Yep.
and understand what it's like.
Yeah.
Um, invent new languages, see the world in 4D, explore time and space. It's like that Star Trek thing, right? It's like space, the final frontier, and it's like no, no, no. It's like imagination, the final frontier.
Ooh. It's funny you bring up Star Trek. I was going to say earlier, you said about imagination. I forget exactly, but it reminded me of this. There's so many elements of Star Trek and other shows too, like the Jetsons, for example, where by imagining it, it actually inspired people to create those things. Like the microwave was something in the Jetsons that became like a real thing later, or like flip phones in Star Trek. Apparently, like inspired the design of that. And there's so many, like they're communicators, and there's so many other things that have been in sci-fi that people were like, that would be awesome. Like, can we make that? So it's like you said, it's so cool that we have the ability to make games and imagine some of these things and share them with people. And who
Yeah.
knows, maybe inspire people to want to get into space or want to get into inventing cool stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like I remember growing up, one of my favorite movies was Jurassic Park,
Hmm.
and it got me so into dinosaurs. And to this day, I still have a friend who got into paleontology because she was just like, yeah, I just got really obsessed with like Jurassic Park, and then like it made me really want to study dinosaurs, and then I just followed through with it, and yeah, I think like there's eras where you can inspire just because of that story,
Absolutely.
or
Yeah.
like
I was
Indiana Jones
inspired.
and like adventures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yes.
was inspired to get into programming because of the Matrix.
Oh,
That was part
nice.
of it. Yeah. Like, oh, being a programmer is cool. You can like get out of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that's another one of my favorite movies. Oh wow, that was cool.
So you are doing things through Pixel. You are making um, games. You've definitely taken part in a few game jams. I've played some of your games. They've been really impressive. You've done the extensions for Twitch. Um, what other things, like what have you been working on lately? What are things that stand out to you that were like really kind of taught you a lot, or you got some like, you know, you felt like you did it and you're like, whoa, this is really, really life changing.
Um, lately, I'm not sure. So, I got a new job last year, joining the AWS team, or
Right.
well, yeah, AWS company.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, I joined the developer relations team as a dev, working on like technologies for them.
Cool.
So yeah, we're building a bunch of different things like new blog websites and stuff, and so that's been pretty exciting. And yeah, besides that, kind of.
Wait, I gotta ask you a ton of questions about this
Oh
before
yeah.
we move on. So, how long have you been there now? It's been a little while, right?
Yep. Yeah, about
A
a
year?
year and a half, I think.
Year
I
and a half.
joined like November of 2011, so right
Okay.
at the end of there. Yeah. And then
And
yeah, it's been kind of just like settling in and getting used to the culture and the teams, and like developing really quickly, but also with all the kind of processes that come along with being a big company, and so navigating a lot of that stuff. And so now it's like, okay, I'm a year in. It feels like I've been here for like 5 years, but okay, like it's like what's next? Like how can I have impact? And
mhm,
so yeah, that's been kind of the focus for this year. It's like, okay, now that I'm kind of settled in,
mhm.
what more um, can I do to help the team and help everyone there?
Cool. And so, um, is it remote work or do you go into an office?
Yeah, it's remote. Most of our team is actually I think all of our team is pretty much all global. There's some members that are in Seattle, and so we actually had a board game night yesterday, and we played
Oh,
this.
cool.
We played two games. One was called Dixit, which was really cool. I'd never heard of it before, but it's
Okay.
like you get five story cards that are just like random images, and they're pretty abstract. And then everybody gets, or no, it's like everybody gets six cards, and then one person is a storyteller each round, and the goal is to try um, and describe a like a single word or a sentence story that lets someone guess what your card is without everybody guessing or no one guessing. So like the way you get points is you have to be a kind of a good enough storyteller to have someone guess that like the one of the cards that you put down into the pile along with everybody else is the one that you're talking about, but it's vague enough that other people will miss it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. I like the idea of mixing board games with storytelling.
Yeah.
Very cool. Did you like it?
Yeah, yeah, I liked it a lot. It was pretty
Cool.
neat. I actually ended up getting it because I
Okay,
was like, I
nice.
want to play this more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you met up with your team. Do you get to meet them often?
Uh not in person very often,
Hmm.
but yeah, we sync on like Slack and like we have daily stand-ups for like the Scrum meetings and things. And
That's good.
so
Yeah,
yeah, we end up chatting all the time.
that's
But
good.
yeah, it's it's very hectic. At least for the team that I'm on, like it seems like we're trying to move very fast, and
Hmm.
so I like it. That's kind of the reason I joined because it seemed like AWS is um, kind of like the big tech version of a startup with a similar culture. It's like okay, like what's the next thing? What's the right thing to do for this experience, and how do we build it in a really scrappy way? Um, and so that's been really exciting because it's very different from some of the other companies that I worked in the past, where they're more about like how do we perfect this software design and make it into like well tested and a robust thing that serves its purpose and it's going to last forever. And
Hmm.
so yeah, it's been a we kind of like generally it seems like everyone groups big tech as like this one thing, but they're definitely different personalities to each.
Yeah, I can imagine. Are you part of a big team?
um I am, but
Hmm.
our like development team is small
Hmm.
because the developer relations team has a lot of like developer advocates and marketers and other people that are non-technical mostly.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess developer advocates are also pretty technical, but they don't build like the actual software services around it. And so we're trying to build kind of like the tools that are um, that will help them with their jobs. So,
Okay, that's
so yeah,
cool.
if you have to if you go to like buildon.aws as a
Hmm.
site, yeah, that's a blog site that our team's been working on as well.
Oh, cool. That's very neat. Yeah, that's awesome. So you must have met some cool people who are also passionate about development there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The thing is, I don't really know much about React JS much. Like I kind of get by because
Hmm.
I've done a whole bunch of JavaScript and I can do backend things and architect things, but then for the front end, JS has kind of become like this big like everyone uses this framework and it's become like the web front end thing that everyone builds on. At least for like all the companies like not just big companies but like it seems like that's become a standard even though it might not necessarily be the easiest to learn or like the most straightforward most like efficient. So yeah, actually personally I don't actually know why React.js is so popular, but yeah, it's more like okay, this is a chance for me to really like dive deep and learn what this is about, like how to get used to it, and I still run into random struggles where it's like, oh, okay, I can't put this if in whatever statement here because it's a React component thing. Like, yeah,
Okay.
so that's been exciting, just learning like
Interesting.
new things on top of the other stuff that I
Yeah.
knew in the past. Yeah,
Very
learning
cool.
new things is always fun. I love just like finding out new things, and now that's like what is it, all the LLM stuff, the AI
Oh my
and
gosh. Oh my
ChatGPT.
god.
It's
There's
so
so much
crazy,
crazy stuff happening.
and
Has
it's
that been like a topic that you guys discuss at work at all?
oh yeah,
I guess,
I think
yeah.
yeah, kind of everywhere,
Yeah.
and so
But
yeah,
like
all my
developers, I
coworkers
feel
are
are so like not only directly impacted, but I feel like how do I put this? Like in demand as well, because everyone's like, oh, AI is so cool. Like I need a developer to help me do this cool thing. So I feel like we hear about it probably like way more than your regular person. And there's just
oh
like it sounds like every
yeah,
day there's
that
some
would
new
make
crazy
sense.
tools coming out.
Yeah, I don't know how to think about it yet, because well, the way that I'm thinking about it right now is that there's always been these cycles in civilization where you have like new technology pushing the bubble and pushing new boundaries, and then that and then people learning how to use those technologies and then shifting from that technological advancement era into the art and like uh, the next bubble like pushing the boundaries of the artistic boundaries of what we think about.
Mm.
So an example would be like um, when film and like animated movies and things came out, and photography, it became new media for people to express and tell stories. And so then, like once people started learning how to use that and uh, how to tell stories using that technology, then it became a completely different story. Or like when digital art became a thing, then um, we we started turning that into not just like um, painting everything traditional, but then we turned that into like Pixar as a studio and um, different 3D rendering kind of things. Like
Mm.
I think AI is at that stage. Maybe that's my theory. Is that maybe it's like this? We're seeing all the things of like technical boundaries being pushed, and then eventually, as we learn how to use that more effectively, maybe we can start um, having different experiences differently as well. Or it's
Right.
like one of the things I saw on ChatGPT is that like people are either like really afraid of it, right? And they're like, I don't know if I want to learn about it, and it's like this foreign thing. And then there's other people that are like, oh, this is like the most revolutionary thing that's ever come out since like the age of the internet, or like since sliced bread or whatever.
Yeah.
And the truth is somewhere in between. And so I feel like ChatGPT is really incredible for what it's doing, but if you look at it from a technical perspective, it has a lot of limitations, right? Like the reason
Mm.
that they're putting like these safeguards around it, where they're like, we're trying to make it so that the AI is safe to use, so that it's more politically correct, like it doesn't like bias towards like being discriminative against certain groups of people, like
Hmm.
all that stuff, because from its training sets, it's very hard to do that. And at the core of it, it's a completion engine where you give it a conversation and then it tries to predict what the next conversation should be.
Hmm.
So if it's completely like a black box, then it's like, oh, like I don't know how it's doing it. It knows everything about the internet and like all of that's in there. And so it must know everything about me and like everything else. It's going to take over all of our jobs. And then you look at it from like someone that's much more technical, and they're like, oh, it's just like a technical thing. It'll be fine. Like it's just going to help everybody. And there's like truth to both sides, right? It's like it is really good, and it is going to change how the industry works and how some careers work, and we're going to have to adjust. But at the same time, it's it is also going to help other people as well. It's like I think it's going to open up new possibilities, new way of working where we might be more efficient. We might uh, be able to use our time more wisely, or just even like have more time to do things. Hopefully, like my hope is that we can use this AI so that we can not have to do taxes all the time. Just have it be automated. I'm like, where's that?
Yeah, that'd be a nice one. In fact, that's so funny that like it's funny that we have all these AI tools, and I feel like the AI is taking all the cool jobs. Like we have Midjourney, who's basically taking over concept art, and we have ChatGPT, which is doing a lot of like creative writing and stuff. But like I wanted for game development, for example, I want an AI that will retopo my 3D model for me, or one that will like UV unwrap my 3D model for me. Like those seem like low hanging fruits, but still we're getting like something that seems way harder is coming up before that. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, when do we get that? That would be
Yeah.
amazing. Like can we use AI to have it just like do all that UV mapping in a smart way for us? Like where's that?
Seems like a
That
doable
would
thing, doesn't it? I don't
yeah.
know. I'm not familiar enough to.
Or
I
like
mean,
animation rigging. That
maybe I
would be
should.
amazing.
Oh,
Like
there is one for animation that I haven't tried yet.
okay.
Cascadar it's called, and it's like it's supposed to take a regular animation and make it apply physics to it in a way that it feels like more natural. So apparently that one's pretty good. I've yet to check it out though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
I
know
don't
about a
know.
full animation though. That would be nice.
I think a lot of the anxiety right now around it comes from just there's so much uncertainty. It's like we don't understand the limits of it yet, and like how we need to use it, how it benefits, or like where it's scary. Um, and it's like it really is, I guess, very similar to when the internet came out. It's like, well, this is an open world. Like you can go into anywhere. This you would be connected to anybody around the entire world, and that person could be um, like the most knowledgeable professor on like chemistry or like astrophysics, or it could be some random serial killer that's like like planning
Right.
like the end of the world or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess it seems like I remember reading, or maybe it was like a podcast. I remember listening to something where
Hmm.
it was talking about like how there's right now in the world there's like two sides of the things. This is like one group of people that are talking about like they're seeing the world and the developments as like this utopian thing or like the euphoria. It's like, oh, everything's becoming better. Look at these like we're seeing developments that help us move towards cleaner energy and clean air and being able to do more things and have more time. And then there's the other side of it where people are looking at like, oh, we're getting closer and closer to the atomic clock and the midnight or whatever. And it's like like we're just a moment away from like the end of the world and like end of the human species as it know it because the AIs are going to take over. And um, the person was talking about how like both are true. It's like
Hmm.
things are getting better, but things are also getting scarier at the same time. And what we need to recognize is like how we can balance that. And it's not just one side or one person being right. It's that we have to walk that line and have that discussion rather than just like saying and arguing like who's right or who's wrong
Hmm.
because both are right and both are wrong
Yeah.
and until we have that discussion of like hey how do we move forward where both things might be right and things are getting scarier but things are getting better and make those real discussions happen and understand like hey these are the trade-offs that we're making and these are the risks that we're taking then um, it just does become like much more what is it like extreme. Whereas if we start having those discussions, then we can understand like, hey, these are the trade-offs that we're making as we move forward into the future. And so,
Mm. I mean, I feel
yeah,
like with AI, I do think that those conversations are happening, at least with certain people who are informed enough to understand kind of the major risks of AI as well as some of the great potential of it. The I think the challenge is even if, even if you and I can agree on what should be done about it, like maybe there should be uh, certain rules in place to make sure that there's no negative outputs or negative consequences of it. Like I think that the problem is nobody's there's kind of like you said there's this extreme good and extreme bad and everyone's kind of landing like somewhere in between and it's hard for everyone to get alignment and so no real actions being taken because
yeah,
we're not in agreement like as a population and people are so so like seeing one end or the other it's hard to and it's hard to slow it down because you know we've taken AI and we've given it to everybody. Your average person can now use it and do anything with it. Like there's so many applications. It just takes one to go wrong, for example. And
yeah,
um, but it's also so many things are coming out every day. So there's this petition you probably heard of that people have signed to stop it, to put a stop to it until we kind of like have a better handle on
yeah,
what's going on. Like there's this is like the wild west of AI, really, right? And it's kind of dangerous, but how do you put a stop to it? Like, does everyone agree? Like, yes, we will all stop all AI. That feels almost
yeah.
impossible, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know what the solution is, but it definitely feels like we're just. I guess it's kind of like you said, like the internet, like it just suddenly it just blew up and everything kind of changed, and everything's been different since. Really,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder
This
if it will
whole
have that
year,
big of an impact.
it's it feels like the past 3 years has been such a wild ride. Like we've had the pandemic, and then we
Hmm.
had like the whole recession and then there's
Hmm.
still people talking about like or like online where the news is like recession might be coming and then other people are like what do you mean recession's been here for like a year we have inflation and then we
Hmm.
have AI stuff happening it's like everything keeps changing so rapidly now. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I expect out of next year? Whereas before, I feel like we could have a handle on kind of what we could, like, where we see ourselves 5 years from now, 10 years from now,
Hmm.
and then now it's like, I don't know where things are going to be a year from now, 6 months from now, or a month from now. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I can understand how people feel very like unsettled about, it's like, not just the AI things, but about like where things are in the world at the moment.
Yeah,
It,
absolutely. No, you're right. Things have been changing so fast. And, everyone had to make changes in their lives. Things just, it was so different for everybody. And I wonder, like everyone says, evolution is about people adapting to change. It's almost like we are being forced to learn how to adapt even more rapidly than we used to, which is, I mean, maybe it makes us stronger in that sense, but it can definitely be disorienting for people,
yeah,
because, like you said, how do you plan things when there's all these breakthroughs in technology and there's all these different a new concern in the news every day? And I mean that part's always been there, but I feel like it feels like more lately, and it's hard to even gauge, like, is it actually worse? Is like, what how do we know what's something to invest thought and energy towards or not? It's tricky.
yeah. And I know like mental health has also been a really big issue lately.
Hmm.
Like depression rates are higher than ever now.
Hmm.
There's like suicide rates are at an all-time high as well, among
Wow.
young people, and like credit card debt is at like one of the all-time highs. Like it
Hmm.
makes sense, right? Like it's gotta be really tough for a lot of people to be just like not having that certainty of like what which way do I move, and like how do I go forward? What's going to be like the most like stable path for me, or
Hmm.
like what's going to happen with my career, like there's layoffs
Yeah.
happening and stuff as well. It's like,
Right.
yeah, so I don't know, I feel like it's just a really difficult time at the moment for everyone.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride. I'm hoping
Yeah.
that things calm down.
We all need like a global vacation, don't we?
Yeah.
Can we all just chill for a little while? Well,
So
maybe when the AI overlords take over, we won't have to worry about anything. We'll just be like, the AI will be in charge of everything, and we can just be like cats, and we just kind of, they feed us. We just do what we want, and we sleep, we eat.
yeah, if we can figure out how to use AI maybe to help that, like
Yeah.
help people understand the situation better, and uh, feel or like understand other people. Like that was one of the things that I wanted out of technology originally as well. Like
Hmm.
one of the benefits that we have of this is that now we have like translation
Hmm.
APIs. And
True.
so now we can connect to people that might not speak English, might not speak our own language. And there were cool things where it's like Skype had an integration, I think like a couple years ago, or they could say, "Hey, you can do a Skype video chat now, and it'll live transcribe and translate it and into a caption what you're talking into the other person's language."
Cool.
And I wanted to build something kind of like that too, which is how I got to making like the chat translator bot for
Yeah.
Twitch. And
That's so
so
cool.
it's like things like that help us learn that we're not alone, and
Hmm.
we're not like the only ones going through similar experiences or similar rough times. And now more than ever, it feels like we've gotten to the point where we have this technology. Everyone's like has access to everything. You can order something online and get it delivered to you same day, like within the next hour. But at the same time, it's like, because we're so connected, shouldn't we be feeling more connected with everyone? And we're not. It seems like we're
Mm.
even more isolated than ever. And so I'm wondering if like AI can help us change that. Like I
Mm.
one of the big things that I really love about Twitch is that
Hmm.
it seems like that has helped us change and feel more connected with other people. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing that I value most about those communities. is that now it's like, oh, like the things that you're interested in, you can find other people that are also interested in it with you, and have that discussions and conversations, uh, and get to know each other, get make connections. Like we wouldn't know each other if I hadn't known like it had been on Twitch, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah,
like these are different connections that are amazing and fascinating, and I feel like those are the potentials that technology can bring us. And so how can we do
absolutely.
that for everyone?
I
Where you
mean,
don't have to be depressed and alone, right?
it's true. And you're right. I think you really um, you point out something that's so important, which is how much we as humans need communities. And I think that's a big part of what I like about Twitch as well is you get to be part of these different communities. If you're a streamer, like you get to be like the host. It's a very rewarding experience, as I'm sure you are well aware of. Like you get to say, here's kind of the topics that we're going to be, connecting on, and like then you kind of get to guide this conversation with a group of people, and every day, you see people come into the chat, and you feel like you've got like almost closer than friends in a way because you're just talking to them all day. It's
Yeah.
so nice, and I think that is one way that technology does help to some extent. Though at the same time, like you said, it's difficult. We are isolated. Like even though we do have online communities, which is better than no communities, it's so difficult to have in person communities. I feel like that is one area that, like you said, has been way more difficult to well, we just end up being isolated. It's hard to find them, to create them. It's more people are more disconnected.
Yeah.
Um, but like maybe that's something that technology has solutions for. Maybe there are ways to use technology as a tool to create communities. It's just a matter of us having to identify where they're lacking and make that happen, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, have you heard about like I was learning about it was like the term geriatric millennial. Do you know about that?
I don't think I've heard
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, I was reading about it how so I was born in like 1985, and it was
Hmm.
like back when we had like landline phones and then like dial-up internet, and then over time it became wireless, and then it's like before that you would have to call home from when you get over to your friend's house and be like, "Hey mom, I got here." To now it's like everyone's on their phones. It's like every side of that the technological development, I, apparently like my generation's been part of, where we've gone from like having to drive everywhere and now to like and not having to go to a blockbuster and rent video like VHS movies, to now just having like streaming services. Whereas like if you're um, a kid now that's born in like the past 2 years or 5 years or whatever, then it's like Netflix is your life, right? It's like, why would you ever go to a store and rent a movie? That doesn't make any sense. And so, and so to me, it's interesting. Like, there's groups of people in like these generations where it feels like it becomes harder and harder to relate to certain people. Like kids nowadays, I've heard it's harder for them to relate to their grandparents than
Mhm.
um, they were in the past, because their experiences are so different. Where it's
Right.
like they
Yeah.
live and like they wake up and sleep by their phones, and then there's grandparents that are like not even on the phone because it's just like, oh, this is too like complicated for me. Just call me.
Right.
And kids are like, what do you mean call? Like we have to like actually have voice conversations? What do you mean like everyone texts? And so yeah, I wonder, it's like part of that isolation feel is also because of that. It's like so many things have changed over time, and like the things that we're comfortable with are always just being like forced open instead of us just exploring and finding it out.
Yeah. It's interesting. And what you're saying, it almost makes me think like we had obstacles to the almost like obstacles to the reward. Like, you go to Blockbuster, you get like one movie for the week. You don't get to watch any movie you want at any time, as many times as you want, unlimited forever. Right? You had to like put the work in to go there. You had to pick one. You could like one precious movie, one, not unlimited. And so these descriptions of like the phone and going to your friend's house and all that, it's almost like we have this perspective where things are too easy for younger generations. But I also wonder, there were probably this probably happens to everyone when you get older and you look back at how it was for you and how it is for kids these days. And it's like they got it too easy, it's going to be bad for their mental health. But like, I feel like that's been a constant process over time. Like, our childhood was probably way too easy to our grandparents' childhood. They're like, you weren't even in the mines. What were they doing? What are they doing? Playing? I never got to play. I had to make my own shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess like the meta changed um, over time. It's every generation, like the problem sets that become different.
Hmm.
The things that you care about are completely changed, and so yeah, like nowadays, the way that you can connect and hang out with people are so different, and those are like new obstacles that have appeared for kids, even though like other things that were really difficult um, for me growing up, where it's like, well, I had to go and like go to a library and look up things and go through an encyclopedia. Now you can just Google things. Or
Hmm.
now there's like ChatGPT for you, where you can ask it things and then it'll tell you and explain it to you as if you're a 5-year-old. And I never had that, right? It's like, sure, like that's easy, but at the same time, that means like everyone else in that generation also has access to that. Like now, does that mean like it becomes more competitive? Is it more cutthroat? Like I don't know. I'm not in that situation, but it seems like the challenges have changed, and because the challenges keep changing so rapidly, it becomes harder and harder to relate to a lot of different generations, cross generations. Um,
That's true. It does seem to be that those changes are happening faster in the last, I don't know, like almost like over time it goes faster and faster. Though one thing that I do have to remind myself is, electricity was only accessible to people not that long ago. So there are people alive now who they say, "Oh, you guys think you had a big change with the internet? Like we didn't have fridges. We didn't have lights." Like that, I mean, I know there's few people at that age now, but um, there have been major changes in the past. And cars, you mentioned cars.
oh
Like
yeah.
how wild must that have been? But I do think that we are experiencing a lot, and I think it's not just like in the past. Some of those changes were more largely it was a uh, the amount of work that people had to do was suddenly decreased. So like you don't have to have a horse and to do this, but now you're still moving around a little bit faster, but you don't have to put the work in of a horse and the challenges of a horse. With electricity, like you still have lights, but you don't have to have candles and fire hazards. Like now you have a fridge, so you don't have to have like a storage thing. So it's almost like it reduced work. Same with the like assembly line. But I feel like the technology that's coming out today, um, there's many of them happening, and it's not just reducing work, it's also creating new, like totally new experiences, like you said, connecting to somebody anywhere in the world and having like a video call like this one,
Yeah.
anywhere at any time. And a lot of these things are changing seemingly faster than they did in the past, so it is hard for people to kind of have expectations of what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I guess it's like creating new work. Because it's like
Sometimes,
now
yeah.
you have to learn all these new things and it's hard to keep up. Like I felt like that when there were all these new like JavaScript frameworks coming out.
Hmm.
Like now it seems like things are finally settling down. It's like, oh, okay, like I can learn React. But then before that, it was like, what is it? Is it React? Is it Angular? Is it Ember? Is it Vue? Is it like whatever else is happening? Or
Hmm.
like what coding language should I learn? Like um, that was another big thing. And so now it's like, oh, okay. Like with all of these things, now there's like a much bigger mental load that we have to take on
Yeah,
of
that's true.
all these other things. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're onto something where like because of this it affects mental health, and I think we need to look at these tools, AI, technology, whatever, these new tools that we have. How can we use those to address some of the problems that come up because of the tools? So there's bad from the tools. How can we make some positive impact from them? And not only technology, but like maybe games. Maybe there are games that can start the conversation, or maybe create experiences for people that might give them some guidance, or put them in a position of action, when it might help people who are in a perspective of inaction, right? So you're stuck in this mindset, ruminating, thinking thoughts over, and you go into this world, and there's something changing, and it might just trigger a thought or an idea that might help you come back into the real world with a little bit of a different perspective and mindset. I don't know how to do
Oh, I
that,
like that.
but I think
Yeah.
that's a tool that can be, uh, it's something to strive for, I think, especially in the positive direction with games.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Do you think there's a way that we could use games to kind of like help people be less stressed or like feel less overwhelmed by everything that's changing?
I think that's
Um,
kind of like the default thing that games do, because sometimes,
yeah.
like you said, the mental load is so much. You just want to completely zone out, just be in a different, your only problem is we have to kill the enemy or like something. And it might seem like, oh no, it's killing, it's awful. But like, it's just so much simpler, and it's kind of like a mental break. And I think that alone does help with mental health. Of course, like you said, there are sometimes negatives and exceptions, but I think games kind of do help with like lessen the load for a little while. But to be like more, to go a step further and actually be like really actively helping with that stuff, I don't know. I'm not sure like how you would even approach that. That'd be a tough one.
Yeah, I wonder about like games like Minecraft, for instance. It's like
Hmm.
an exploration game, but I know like one of my friends from a while ago, she was working with kids with autism,
Hmm.
and um, like Minecraft was something that really helped them feel like they would focus on something and it would become like something that they made into their own. And I was just thinking of that related to another like video that I watched on YouTube that was talking about how like um, the way that we can look at the world differently is not just like comparing ourselves to others, but that like about how we see the world from our eyes and then make it um, into our own experience. Whereas we spend so much of our time, like if we just compare ourselves with everyone else,
Hmm.
then we spend all that time not trying to make things into our own experience, but into like mimicking someone else's experience. And
Mm.
so I'm wondering if there's like games that can do that, or like if you have any thoughts around um, how we can even just like live our lives in as like our own like unique person. Like how do we find our own uniqueness is another big thing.
How do we find our own uniqueness? I guess that kind of begs the question, like, what what are our uniquenesses? Like, what
Oh
makes
yeah.
us unique? Is it our interests? Is it our personality? Is it our perspectives? And how do we form those in the first place? So
Yeah.
that's a definitely a big question. Um,
Yeah, it's hard. Like I kind of went through like my own identity crisis in the past year, I think,
oh, okay.
from having gone through because I was working on startups for like 10 years, right?
Mhm.
After Microsoft, I was like, okay, I need to figure out like product market fit and like who likes what product and who needs what and or like bootstrapping with contract projects for clients and being like, okay, like what do you need? Like let me like fix this for you or like we can do another thing or like what do you think these are the requirements? And then um, in the past year, um, I just kind of realized like I had this moment where I was looking through Netflix and I was like, I finally have a vacation. I'm just gonna sit back and do nothing and then like actually chill. And then I turned on Netflix and was like, I don't know what I want to watch. And it and it wasn't just like, oh, it's because there's so many things. It was just like I'd almost lost my identity of like, what do I like watching? Because I got so used to even just like my family members being like, hey, what do you guys want to watch? Let's watch that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went into this moment and was like, what do I want to watch? What do I
Mm.
like? What do I want to eat? I have no idea. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wonder if like for me it was this journey of rediscovering what I personally liked, where I was like, oh, yeah, I do like just random documentaries sometimes, or I do like TV shows that I'd never thought to watch, or like reality shows that sometimes could be like guilty watches, but other times it's just like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And and so yeah, I wonder if part of that is like we need that exploration time to just sit back and be like, okay, I don't care about anything else that's going on in the world. I'm just gonna do my thing for a little bit, and it doesn't have to be 100% of the time, but that that help at least me figure out like, okay, like let's get back in touch with what like my own identity is.
Interesting. Have you been still doing some discovery on that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like where I've come down to is maybe that's just something that's ongoing for everyone as a journey. It's like the whole like Buddhist the way thing. It's like
Mm, yeah.
life is about self discovery and finding out your way of going through life.
Right.
And so yeah, I wonder like maybe there's an opportunity for games to help people do that. It's like
Hmm.
help them learn about themselves.
It's interesting because I was gonna say like when you bring up this relaxation, but I think that also is connected to boredom. I think that being bored is actually really healthy, and like
Oh
it's
yeah.
happens so infrequently, and I think sometimes like we it's funny because we still get bored. Like we have sometimes myself and I hear others saying the same things like, oh, I don't want to watch anything on Netflix. I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to really play a game. Like you just don't want to do any of that stuff. There's so many options of things to do for entertainment, but I think I think our brains need to be bored sometimes. And that is
Oh.
where we have room to like just start coming up with stuff from ourselves rather than getting fed things. You know what I mean? It starts coming out of us.
Oh yeah. Do you think that's kind of part of the problem too? Is that we just have such a wide variety and like a huge menu to always select from that
Yeah.
it's hard to choose. Whereas before it was like a little bit of whatever is available was presented to us at a time, and we kind of like could wander our way into what we liked.
Hmm.
Whereas now it's like all of a sudden we have this whole matrix like, what do you want? And then it pops up next to you and you're like, oh, okay, here's an entire category.
Oh my god, it's so true. It's like you can order any type of food, you can get anything from any restaurant delivered to you in like a short amount of time. You can watch any movie or TV show that's ever existed. You can play any game at any time. Wow, that's so true. We have so many options. How could we possibly decide who we are when there's so many options presented, like you said? Yeah, I really think that there's something to be said about getting being bored. And it's something I say, but it's something I want to incorporate in my life more, it's just being bored.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to be bored more. We maybe what I need to do is I just like set aside some time to be bored. I
Yeah.
started doing that with even just like I signed up for therapy for like mental therapy, and I was like at one point last year we had kind of like a family crisis, and so
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign up on like Talkspace, and I got a therapist, and then she was like super busy, and then I got a different one, and then she didn't have anything for like 5 months, and then I got another one, and he seemed really nice, and then but he had like these health issues, and then now he's not on there anymore, but and so like that part didn't really work out, but just the fact that I set aside time to self-reflect and
Mhm.
go like I need to like set aside time to think about and reflect on like the past year or past week and understand like how am I feeling, what do I need to do next, and like what are my needs helped me a lot. And
Mhm.
so and it sounds more like it's like selfish time, right? But like self-care time, but it's almost like I needed that time to then reflect and like connect that back to everything else in the world, and and it's like, oh, okay, like this is how I'm feeling because of this and this and this, or like with my family or my friends. And that's like that chance that we need to give ourselves to develop that empathy, maybe, or like to be bored so that we can understand, like, okay, like these are the things that were drifting in my brain that I never had time to think about and think through,
Hmm.
but now I have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
yeah,
think
I
you're,
guess we
I
don't
think,
do that anymore.
excuse
Oh,
me.
bless you.
Thank you. No, I think you're right. And I think also, as you pointed out, um, after I'm sorry there was a family crisis, but uh, any kind of crisis or big major event, even good major events, that can really, there's a lot to digest with that, and there needs to be some time to let things sink in, to let there be some consideration of how you feel, and maybe if needed something that you may need to make decisions on, or what you do. And yeah, I don't think we make a lot of space for that in our typical routines in this day and age.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like your idea of like being bored more often. We should do
Mm.
that.
I actually went to um, I went to go sit down at a cafe. It was a really cute cafe, a little coffee shop, and I had a little notebook that I took with me, and I told myself no technology. I'm just gonna get a cappuccino and a snack, and I just sat there for quite a while. But I actually was there. I needed to be there just kind of to kill time, and so it was quite a while. And after the first few hours, it was kind of something I might do once in a while, but I would not usually do it as long as I would usually be like, okay, I'm bored, like I'm gonna go back to my regular activities. But I had time to kill, so I was like, I guess I'll just stay a little longer and make a few more notes and go over a few more things I'm planning on or thinking out. And I feel like after I got past the point where it was kind of done, that's when like the good stuff came up. That's when I like thought about things that I didn't maybe really, not that they were necessarily bad, but they were just kind of like on the back burner. They were like not the things that keep coming to my mind. They were the things that were just laid aside. And now I was thinking through them and planning through them. And I was like, felt like I had some really good thoughts come in at that time. And that's kind of what I feel like what I need to do is not just set aside time, like not go do an activity, but be like, I'm going to go, I don't know, sit in a field, sit in a forest, sit in a coffee shop, whatever it is where there's no technology for a set amount of time, so that I'm like almost forcing myself to like go past that hurdle of, all right, I'm done. All right, I'm bored now. Like I've thought of the regular things. Now go past that and then get to the underlying stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, I'll try that too.
Okay,
Sounds
we'll
good.
have to check in and see if it works out. Cool. Gosh, I feel like there's so many things I could ask you about. Anything coming up in the next little while?
Next little while, I'm not sure. I've been working on getting a pilot license because it was one of those things that I wanted to do,
A
and
pilot
so
license?
yeah,
That's a
and
huge thing to do.
yeah, I wanted to well, I took my mom on a like a helicopter flight tour, and it reminded me of like when I did an internship back in the day where one of the interns had a pilot license, and
Mhm.
so he took some of us on a flight on a Cessna, and ever since then I had it in the back of my mind. I was like, someday I want a pilot license, and then yeah, last year they just kind of triggered it, and it was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna sign up, and so yeah, I'll be continuing that. There's a classroom requirement where you have to do like a theoretical course, and then you have to learn about like the physics behind lift of an airplane and its wings and all this other stuff, and then take an exam. And
Wow.
so that's coming up for me in about 2 weeks.
Whoa, very
So
cool. Good
yeah,
luck with it.
thank you. Yeah, that'll be pretty cool.
Very
Um,
cool. Wow. Have you played Flight Simulator yet?
I got it. I haven't played it as much as I should.
I'm sure it'll be way more easier to take in real life when there's somebody actually like explaining things to you and stuff.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
so I was doing flights with the instructor, and so like last time I was learning and practicing how to do takeoffs and landings really safely. It's like the main thing is you have to be able to take off and land safely. And then you can worry about like doing it smoothly and not so bumpy. But it's like how
Wait,
do
so
you
you've
get
already
to
been doing takeoff and landings?
yeah, I've been
Oh,
flying
okay. Sorry, sorry.
yeah, I think I have
Oh,
like
wow.
25 oh no, I think I have like 30 hours of flight now,
Wow.
but it's not quite there yet where I can do solo flights. So hopefully by the summer I'll be able to start doing solo flights.
Whoa.
So
Where are you gonna fly to?
everywhere, anywhere.
Anywhere
I
I
don't know
want.
yet. Yeah. Like, I guess I'm kind of like a free spirit in that sense. Like I wanted to go traveling around the world, so that was like the main thing that got me to leave Microsoft and was like, I need to get out of this Redmond bubble where I was thinking that the Windows phone is gonna be the next big thing, and whereas like everyone else is developing iPhone apps and Android apps. This was like 10 years ago,
Mhm.
and so yeah. Ever since then, I was like, okay, how can I travel and see other places much better and much quicker and take weekend trips? And I was like, oh, this is my chance. I can do that. And so yeah. So
You
once I get
felt
a
like out of
license,
touch?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it was more like I wanted to be able to go. Oh yeah, I guess originally I really did.
Yeah.
I was
Traveling
just
is a
like,
good way to get back in touch, and not just with like
oh
the world around you, but like, oh,
yeah,
there's such different views in other places. So that's cool.
yeah.
You're going to be able to go to them. Will you be able to do flights like overseas?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
So the license that I'm getting is a PPL, and so it's like a private license for like single engine. I think I can also learn to do like a double engine, but
Hmm.
they're not like jet planes. So the at least the big thing is that it's recognized internationally. So I'll be able to fly around Europe and in Seattle and like in the US and
Oh,
so that would be cool.
so you could
Yeah.
potentially take a commercial flight to Europe and then fly around Europe.
Yep.
How does that even work? Like, whose plane do you fly? Where do you land? Do you have to bring it back? Is it like car? Is it like the
Yeah.
car share?
You
Like,
can
how does it work?
yeah, you can rent planes from like well right now I rent from the school that I'm training in, which is in Prague. And
Okay.
then yeah, after that I can like once I can start flying solo, I'll be able to rent planes and then go to different places. Um, and then eventually once I get the license, then I can rent for longer periods of time or um, I think there's like other services where you can rent um, so it wouldn't have to be just through the school. The school is more of just like, well, they're training you so you can rent there. But
Mhm.
everywhere else, unless you have a license, it would be really difficult for you to rent.
Okay. So you can just go rent a plane, take it, to another state for a weekend, and then fly it back when you're done.
Yeah, I think so.
That sounds
That's
pretty awesome.
that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm excited for
I could
you.
visit Toronto
There you go.
or yeah anywhere. I could visit
Yeah.
Vancouver.
You could go to some like random little town and stay in their little hotel and like learn about what life's like there. You
Yeah,
don't
that
have to
would be
drive
so
for
cool,
like
right?
30 hours to get there.
Yeah, that's kind of the plan or the dream.
Hmm.
We'll see what happens with it, but mostly I got into it and I was like, okay, I like this. It feels very calming. Like originally well, maybe someday in the future I'll be able to get also a sailing license
Hmm.
because I love the water and would love to be in the water, but the plane was more like, oh, like this will let me kind of like travel to different places and then just be there for the weekend. And so could go to different towns and then different states because I still
Crazy.
haven't been to all 50 states yet either. And
That's a pretty
that
big
would
undertaking in itself. But it'll be a lot
be
easier if you can fly there, that's for sure.
so we'll see.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, you
Um,
too. Yeah, I want to hear. Well, I'll have to play the game first, and then maybe we can have this like podcast again because I would love to
yeah,
hear like how you got into just like game development and doing indie games and um, even the whole idea of Strain. Like that's really
yeah.
fascinating.
It's a
Yeah.
lots to chat about. And I had written stuff down. And I'm like, oh, I want to ask him about this. I want to ask him. We'll have to do another one.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
That's a
sounds
deal.
good.
Sounds good.
Cool. Where can people find you? You're still streaming, right, on Twitch?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you have Pixel Plush. Can you say the links and how people can find you?
Yep. So I'm still streaming. I'm trying to get back to 3 days a week. It took me kind of a little bit of time to get used to the new schedule with my new job,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still on twitch.tv/instafluff,
Mm-hmm.
or instafluff.tv is my website.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Pixel Plush is pixelplush.dev is the website.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, those are the two places generally where you can find me. Or I'm also on Twitter, but yeah, I don't post there very often anymore. I think I share my stories on Instagram more. And so if you're interested,
Oh,
you can see like the flight stories.
what is
Yeah,
your handle on Twitter and Instagram?
Instafluff TV. And so yeah, someone else took the Instafluff just by like without the TV.
Those
But I was like, oh,
jerks.
okay, I can put TV. Okay,
That works.
so yeah,
All right, cool.
cool.
Sounds great.
Well,
All right, well, thank you again, and
yeah,
we'll
thank
see
you
you
so
later.
much. Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
It was fun. You're welcome.